Minnesota Department of Natural Resources is reminding people it is illegal to disturb the bottom of a lake or any of the aquatic plants there. That means even though they can be purchased legally in Minnesota, hydraulic jets cannot be used in any way that disturbs the bottom of a waterbed or uproots plants. Aquatic plants are protected under state law. You can find other regulations and a guide to aquatic plants on the Minnesota DNR website.